What's up, guys and gals, and welcome to VV Vibes, where I love talking all things VV NFTs, speculation, and of course the market. So, wow, I'm honestly really excited to bring you guys this video. So, some of the other videos, some topics just get beat to death by 17 other content creators, or typically it's a topic that's a little outdated or that's been on the back burner for a while. This is one that genuinely just blew my mind. It's so simple, yet just to be able to articulate it and kind of just visually see this, or also just understand it, I'm just like, wow, this makes so much more sense. So huge shout out to Vivian3, aka Old Rhubarb, aka Corey, and his amazing wife Heather. They do great videos on pretty much every single Vivi drop that Vivi does. So today they're going to be talking about, actually I'm just going to let them say it, and we'll go ahead and just pause this for now. We'll go ahead and just let them say it, and I think they bring up an amazing topic that I think a lot of people should take into consideration, and has honestly changed the way I have viewed probably collecting on Vivi pretty much forever going forward. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I played it a little bit faster too, so we can get through it since we're playing like
source material.
And that kind of brings us to the first big question. Is this a collectible or is this marketing merchandise? If you're a Disney fan, that's a question you don't even ask. You just buy this and you're happy to have it. But for the rest of us, let's take a look at it. For me, lenticular anything is iffy. This is mostly because Disney has oversaturated their physical lenticular market and sort of lowered the prestige by including them in things like McDonald's Happy Meals. Pretty much any product related to Disney, whether a VHS tape, DVD, toy, or poster, has a lenticular version tied to it. This lack of scarcity hurts the overall value potential.
Even if we go back and look at some of the older lenticular products out there, verified original products have very, very low value to collectors in terms of price. The exceptions would be limited and very old lenticulars, which can drive low to moderate values, like this Walt Disney poster series on Heritage Auctions.
Now, if you've heard me talk on live streams with other streamers, I often say that the very first lenticular Disney cards that dropped on the platform, to me, have a lot of potential value. And the reason for that is I think that Disney is going to make a lenticular version of literally every character that exists in Disney and their entire, media umbrella. Whenever that happens, the very first lenticular set ever released on Vivi, to me, might hold some value just because it's the legacy and it's the first.
Really, really interesting insight. And what really just grabbed me about the whole idea was just the fact of just like collecting things that are on Vivi that are going to be collectible, or that they're going to be sought after by collectibles, versus just general merchandise. And of course there's tons of different definitions. I actually just googled both the definitions of collectible as well as just merchandise. What does that mean? So collectible is an item worth collecting of interest by a collector, able to be collected. Now it's kind of general, but I think this sentence kind of sums it up. The auction attracted professional dealers trading in quality small collectibles. You hear words like auction, professional dealers, trading, quality small collectibles, that kind of thing. But then we switch over to sorry, I'm just coughing on it. Merchandise, goods to be bought and sold, branded products used to promote a particular movie, popular music group, linked to a particular fictional character, and merchandising. Or in this case, there's another example here. Official merchandise for like the film, promote the sale of goods, especially representation or presentation in retail outlets. So it's like, you look at things like collectors, it's like professional, auction, kind of like small limited run, small collectibles, that kind of thing. When we look at merchandise, it's like retail, big box stores, mass produced, the newest and latest and, quote unquote greatest things, retail stores, outlets, things that are just super, super available to the masses. And usually it's just pushing a new product, usually testing it. They're just trying to get some money out of people, or maybe, and quite frankly, I'm seeing this a lot in like Disney and Marvel, even a little bit of Star Wars, where if you guys have watched any of my live streams, you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of the newest stuff being pushed out. I like some of the characters, but long story short, it does seem like a lot of new characters and products and certain IPs and stuff like that are kind of getting pushed to the forefront, almost just artificially, connecting them arbitrarily to our older, more beloved characters that are quite frankly more well written, and just kind of just shoehorning them in to then kind of like piggyback off of their success or kind of their viewership or fandom or whatever it is. So, and usually most of the time those characters are just in place just to bridge a story and not kind of be an interesting character themselves. Usually it's just a plot device or whatever it is. Again, I don't want to kind of go off too much on a tangent, but kind of back on topic of collectibles versus things being like merchandise. I think David Yu has an extremely good grasp on this. And so when he says things, I mean, most recently he said it about the Disney vintage posters, like, hey, like these are grail, like little mini grails. These are things that are not very prevalent in real life. They're put in the Disney parks. There's probably been a very small handful of like public sales. These kind of things are probably bought and sold in more like private auctions and things like that. So he even said like, hey, keep an eye out for this. So I think even David Yu understands that like which things on Vivi are just like merchandise that are just being pushed by the IPs or brands just to kind of get some money, or maybe just kind of do some experimentation on, hey, how well is this character going to do, or how well is this product going to do. But if it sells well, I guess we'll make more of it. If not, then we're done with it and on to the next thing, right? It's always remember seeing a meme that says there's a meme that was from a content creator not involved with Vivi, but I'm just on YouTube or whatever. It was like, don't ask questions, just consume product and be excited for next product. And like that's kind of the question. It's like, holy crap, like that's kind of right. And I'm not saying we're getting that on Vivi, but we're seeing it in all kinds of places. And so when I start looking at things like this, I'm probably going to be, as I'm bringing up these NFTs, I have like 10 or 12 of them to show you guys. I'm just going to talk about both sides. Could this be a collectible? Could this be more of a, let's say, just like merchandise? So when you look at the neon sign here thing, like I do know Coca-Cola collectors are a big thing, but when you look at something like this, okay, it's digital collectible. It's on like the middle side of mints. It's not too high, but it's not too low either. But is this more of just a merch thing, or is this a genuine collectible that you think collectors are going to be paying a premium amount for in years to come? Same thing here with Lilo and Stitch. You know, here's a secret rare, really low mints of 2,226 for the most part. But like, is this just merchandise? You know, just pushing, it's just another Lilo and Stitch product because now they have some sort of live animation movie coming out in the near future, or is this genuinely a collector's thing? You know, it is FA and all of that. So I was going to talk about it a little bit later, kind of like the differences between like maybe something that's collectible in real life versus something that's like a collectible on Vivi because it has prevalence of Vivi. This one I think is, to be quite frank, you know, again, I'm gonna let you guys decide in the comments whether some of these NFTs are collectibles versus just merch. I think, you know, beta, I think it's pretty obvious. Most of the stuff in the Jurassic World Dominion stuff is just pretty much just merch. They're just trying to get some extra money, push a product, trying to get people to view the movies, all that kind of stuff. You know, also got things like the airdrop. Hey, buy our stuff so you can get an airdrop so that we get more sales, more of that. And, you know, based on kind of the pretty poor reviews that I would say Jurassic World Dominion got, I would say this is more of a merch thing. But again, you know, the mints are somewhat low, but even then, these still aren't sold out in the store for the most part. Most of these I actually just grabbed randomly, so I wasn't cherry picking a lot of these. I think there's like 2 or 3 that I actually cherry picked that I wanted to make a point on, but I was just grabbing random stuff on the store. I literally just went to the store tab, or I should say the market tab on the web app, and just scrolled down and just grabbed random stuff. So like this one, the Kenneth Rutherford Batman. You know, at a certain point where it's like, okay, Todd is a collectible, so is Rizzo and some of these other ones, but it starts getting to the point where it's like, how many Batmans do we really need on the app? How many versions of Batman? Like the black, I know it's all black and white series, but it's at a certain point, what does it start becoming just merch that they're just trying to get some extra money out of, maybe just trying to get people to buy the NFT, then they're being leveraged or being enticed now by the physical collectible or vice versa. So, you know, it's like, I mean, we're getting to the point now where I feel like we have like, what, 100,000 Batmans on the app, like total mints of all of them combined. I'm not entirely sure, but it's probably getting to that point. Now this one I think is pretty clear cut. I think this one is going to be a collectible. Arguably, it's probably one of the top 5 collectibles on the app, period, for collectors. It's Vader's first appearance. He's arguably the number 1, maybe number 2 villain behind Joker when it comes to fictional villains of like literally all time of any kind of villain. Low mints, his first appearance, ultra rare, animated, all that great stuff. So I do think this is pretty clear cut, a collectible over just merch. It's not like this is a product that Star Wars is just trying to push and just see if it sticks and if it does well. I think this is something that people of any Star Wars generation could understand and love. Now this is actually another IP that David Yu himself did mention, like, hey, you know, these are going to be, I don't think he said these are grails necessarily, but like, hey, like keep an eye on these, like these types of things, Pili Fantasy. Certain characters, Yi Xiao Chai, I believe it's pronounced. It's a pretty popular character. I think this is arguably the most popular character, I think he said, in Pili Fantasy. And this other one, and that's the ultra rare, he's like the most powerful, but he's not the most popular. And, you know, the mints are relatively low, and I know this is very, very popular in the like the PAC region and all that stuff, and Vivi's trying to get more users from those regions. And I could have sworn he mentioned that like the physical versions of these, like when Pili Fantasy like releases physical versions or collectibles, like they're very, very limited runs, or you can only get them in like very specific ways. So I do think these are very limited. So I think he kind of understands like, hey, like these are pretty sought after in real life. So these could do well on Vivi. So again, I'm gonna let you guys decide whether you guys think this is a collectible or just kind of merch for the most part. More Coca-Cola. Again, I was just grabbing random stuff off the store. So the Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, the Coca-Cola Starlight. I think this is just more merch. You know, the mint numbers are slightly on like the higher side, and on top of that, it's not like a super vintage thing, you know. And I think some people might argue like collectibles are tend to be more vintage, or it's the most original or most beloved version of whatever that IP or brand or character is. In this case, this is obviously like a somewhat newer creation of Coca-Cola, so I'm not sure if maybe there's a Coca-Cola collector out there that buys one of every Coca-Cola that's ever designed and made, but other than that, I just don't see this being like a full-on collectible that people are just going to be paying a major premium for. I think I already did that one. Now this one, Thor Love and Thunder, the Hammers. I think this was pretty clear-cut. Everyone knew this is pretty much just a merch push. Thor Love and Thunder, let's just push all the Thor hammers, include all the also previous movies, versions of hammers and like Stormbreaker and stuff, just to get some money out of it, quite frankly, just to promote the movies, get people to maybe sign up on Disney Plus and you know, start doing that stuff. So honestly, this is one, even though the mints are pretty low, there's still plenty left on the market, I believe. So that says there's 1,447. So I think this is like maybe a little bit more than halfway bought. So these ones are still in the store. I know Beta is still in the store. This is still in the store. And I think people are starting to slowly be able to kind of sniff out which things are merch or which things are like actually collectibles that are going to be sought after in the future. Another one, Contemplating Venice by Patrick Hughes. So obviously a huge artist. I think most people on VV didn't know who this person was. I didn't for sure until I did a bit of research. Very popular artist. His perspective paintings are amazing and very well known, at least of the people that know of him. But again, you have to think like, all right, people that are buying these pieces, are they buying it because this art piece is, you know, handmade? It's very limited run, where there's only like, it's literally a 1 of 1 or maybe a 1 of 10 or 1 of 100 or whatever it is. But once we start digitizing it and then we start giving it 1,600 mints versus maybe there's only 10 in existence or 100. I don't know how much of these are actually in existence. But when we start saying, oh, this art piece went for $100,000 or $50,000 or whatever it is, it's like, you also have to think, all right, is that a 1 of 1 piece? Was there 100 of them? And then once we start basically, you know, 100xing the amount of mints in a digital version versus the physical, is that going to hold the same weight and value? And another thing to kind of think of is, someone's buying these physical pieces, do they believe in digital art? Do they believe in speculative NFT or digital collecting as well? Or do they believe that this is going to be a thing, right? So kind of curious to see how that plays out. So let me guys know. I mean, you guys think this is more of a collectible or more of a maybe it's not just straight up merch, but maybe it's not as collectible as some people think, possibly. Let me know what you guys think. Another one is Buttercup. I think a better one to pick would have been Bubbles, because that one only has like 600 mints. But again, I think this does differentiate, where it's like, I don't really know people that collect like Powerpuff Girls. I'm sure there are people, but it's nowhere near to the level of like Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, DC, any of that stuff, comics, whatever it is. And when you see something like this, it's like, is this popular because Powerpuff Girls is popular, or is it just because it's one of the earlier drops on VV and it has really low mints, and that's it? You know, you kind of have to really think of it that way. And then if that is the only reason why it's holding its value is because it's low mints and it's a season 1 NFT, you know, that I would say that takes a bit more convincing for people to pay a super premium for it versus something like Vader or Todd. I know Todd is season 1, or, you know, something like Steamboat Willie or whatever it is, where it's like you're trying to convince these people like, hey, like, you should buy this because it's big on VV, but it's not big in real life, but it's big on VV. I think that's another thing too, is that people might be leveraging too much of, if something is popular on VV but not in real life, that takes some convincing. That's going to take some convincing of that new whale. The whale comes into the app, you know, like, hey, buy Donnie. It's like, oh, why? Because there's like super low mints and he's season 1. Okay, any other reason? Like, is there actual like physical collectors? Is it a big deal? Like, the only way I could see something like Donnie doing really well is if like legitimately like some crazy popular like celebrity or like actor or actress or athlete like has one and then brags about it, and then it gives him like crazy in real life utility, and like then maybe could do well. But other than that, I just don't see it. I think Powerpuff Girls is fun and fine, but I do think it gets very, very carried by its low mints. Last but not least is also Buzz Lightyear. I think this is just straight up merch. I mean, this even says it's a recreation of an in-theater display that commemorates Disney's Pixar film of like, so it's a recreation of an in-theater display of a remake of a Buzz Lightyear that's not the original, and it's just like, it's just too much. It's just too disconnected from the original version of Buzz Lightyear and the original movie. If this was an original movie poster with Buzz Lightyear on it that had Toy Story on it, it's like the classic, then yes, I would say this is a collectible. But the fact that it's, you know, it's basically a theater display that's a remake of a character or whatever it is, it's like, it's just too far disconnected for me personally to say this is like a collectible, and it's more of just merch. They're just trying to push a new product or whatever it is. And you can kind of say the same thing with comics, right? Like for me personally, not a huge collector investment. Like I'll buy some of the newer stuff, maybe some speculative buys here and there, but it's like I mostly stick with the old school stuff because that's what everyone knows and loves. And honestly, a lot of the new characters kind of have to piggyback off of those old school ones for their popularity, because if not, it's really hard for them to stand on their own as being interesting and all that stuff. So yeah, let me know down in the comments below what you guys think are, you know, what's your guys' definition of a collectible versus merchandise? Are there any collectibles or NFTs in the app that you guys think that people view as merchandise but should really be collectibles, or vice versa? So yeah, ever since, a big shout out to Vivian3, and again, I'll link his video down in the description below so you guys can check it out, or I should say his channel, not just that video, but he does amazing videos in general. Of just like, wow, just collectibles versus just, it's just this merch. Is this just a short-term thing that's just pushing merch, or they're just trying to make some money, or just basically just trying to get some numbers down? They're just trying to push this product and get some analytics on it and to see if it's going to do well in the future, versus something that's just tried and true and proven to be popular over the last 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And you know there's collectors out there ready to buy it today if they were to get on the app and truly understand how VeVe and digital collectibles work. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I know it's a bit of a longer video, so I appreciate you guys sticking around. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to double and triple check your listings so you don't screw yourself over. And I'll catch you guys next time.